Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. It is Tuesday once again, and we have a mock draft.
Let's go.
Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
You know what time it is, my friends. It is freaking September.
Dude, it's time.
Football is, I don't want to say this, too loudly, but it's 9 days away.
Right around the... Holy cow, it is 9 days away, isn't it?
So, football is going to be here very soon. Houston Texans, Chiefs, we've talked about it a million times. Sunday football is 13 days away, or 12 days away, I should say. We are inching very, very much closer to the regular season starting. I drafted most of my teams, and I'm just ready to go.
I'm ready to go too. I'm just excited for football.
I want to get to the football because at this point it's going to start. Like the people who said, "Oh, football's not going to happen," they're pretty much silenced at this point. And I'm like, I feel like 10 days or 9 days is a very long time for COVID. So I just want to get there so that we can start the season.
Right. Yeah, I know exactly. I'm just ready. It's like that awkward stage where you've already drafted most of your teams and you're just kind of like twiddling your thumbs.
Seriously,
waiting for the season to start.
I didn't tell you this, but somebody in our league or home league texted me today and said, "Can you draft my my work league?"
They asked you to draft. So
I was like, "Hell
in a
yeah,
home league, really?
Of course."
They're asking you to.
Yeah, they're like, "Can you
So we have.
Can you draft my work fantasy league?" And I'm like,
so funny.
Sure. Oh, so anyway, if this is your first time listening, my name is Morgan Colby. I got Rick Lemon. He's always here with me, as always. We got some stuff to get to. I think we're going to start with the news in this episode because we got some big whoppers, and it's a lot of news.
Let's do that.
Next weekend's cut down weekend, so it's going to get even more detailed probably next Tuesday. But we also have a mock draft. Mock draft Tuesdays, my friends. You can just trademark it. We have 2 mock drafts left to go today, and then next week, and then we're in the regular season of fantasy football. So
that's nuts.
Before we jump into the news, check out our website, thefantasychampions.com. Follow us on Twitter @TheFFChamps, on Instagram @TheFantasyChampions. Like us at Facebook.com/TheFantasyChampions. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or any other podcast platforms, please subscribe, leave a review, and share this podcast with your friends. I will double say the subscribe part. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to subscribe there. Click the bell on notifications and like and comment down below. We also, you're coming up to the last days of the draft guide. When the NFL season starts, we don't want to help people who start their drafts 3 weeks into the season. So if you buy our draft guide now, it'll help you win your league, but you're running out of time before the season starts to buy our draft guide. It's $25. It has full rankings, breakouts, bust, player draft values, player breakdown, so much more. So be sure to tell your friends. But we're going to jump right into the news right away before we do anything related to the draft stuff, because this is a lot of nonsensical news at this point. I just realized that I forgot to start my camera before the show. So
that's okay. You got more juice.
If the screen didn't show my face until now, there you go. Cardinals coach Cliff Kingsbury said he believes third-year pro Christian Kirk is an ascending player, whatever that means.
Means he's on his way to being a superstar, hopefully, for my dynasty league.
Cliff Kingsbury is the king of saying absolutely nothing.
I know, he really is.
Ascending player, what does that mean? What does that mean, Cliff? Does that mean you're going to use him? Does that mean you're not going to use him? He wouldn't even, if he said he was going to use him, he wouldn't use him because that's how he works. Dirk Cutter, offensive coordinator of the Falcons, expects a minimum of 15 touches a week for Todd Gurley. Funny because usually coaches are like, oh, we're going to give him the ball a lot, and they don't really describe how many touches they're going to give him. Dirk Cutter was like literally sitting there in a press conference breaking down how many plays their offense is going to run and how many touches Gurley might get based on that. And I'm like, I've never seen a coach do that before. So I would be more inclined to believe that Gurley is going to get 15 touches a game.
Yeah, I mean, man, I really wish I had a Gurley share.
At 0.7 fantasy points per opportunity, he'll probably only come away with 12 fantasy points a week, but that'll get him
that's a solid RB2.
Same spot he was last year, I guess.
Yeah.
Speaking earlier this week, Josh Allen said he hopes to run the ball less this year. Yeah, right.
That could be good or bad.
That could be very bad. You know what? Ends up happening? Every time he starts making mistakes, he starts running it. So it should be a very short amount of time before he starts running it all over the field. Ryan Tannehill said Derrick Henry is catching the ball more confidently. I don't know if that's going to lead to more opportunities for Derrick Henry to catch the ball. Which, if that's the case, I mean, Derrick Henry will be absurd. But I don't think he makes it past 20 catches this year, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
He's just not a great pass catcher. Well, he can catch passes. It's what he does with it after that's the problem. The Bears head coach said Matt Nagy. Bears head coach Matt Nagy said, "I'm just so excited about the real news that we're going to get to in a minute." Said that running back David Montgomery strained his groin at practice on Wednesday. That was a cluster. I don't even know if did we talk about that on Thursday's show?
No, everybody thought he tore his ACL.
Yeah, it was like they reacted in like 46 and a half seconds.
Achilles or something.
Yeah, and then they found out that it was only like a 2 to 4 week injury. So he should be fine. They're saying he might start week 1, but the reality is that he probably won't. I'm thinking that they're going to wait for a couple weeks. Pete Carroll said Carlos Hyde will be a big factor for us. We put Chris Carson on our bust list for a reason, so you probably should just listen.
Yeah, Chris Carson, bust.
Chris Burke reports that the Lions' DeAndre Swift remains absent from practice. There's also another report stating that DeAndre Swift will probably lose opportunities from the team, lose opportunities early in the season because of this. So,
yeah.
And that Kerryon's the starter week 1. So that's, at this point for Swift, the breakout is next year when Kerryon's off his contract.
Or, yeah, I mean, either next year or like a Miles Sanders situation where he just wins the job in like the second half of the season. But it's not people who drafted Swift and expecting like a dominant RB1 right away. Like, you're not going to get that. He's going to be the backup running back for at least the first part of the season.
Yeah, right. So
that's why he's also a bust on our list.
Yeah, I love DeAndre Swift. I really do. But Dynasty, just
I do too.
Snatch and grab. Rams coach Sean McVay said Darrell Henderson is expected to be available week 1. He has a hamstring injury.
That's good that he should be back, though.
The Athletics reporting that Devin Singletary has been having fumble issues in camp. You know what? We roasted a guy in our YouTube comments for saying Zach Moss is at this point.
We didn't roast him. It was just like...
There's this one man... Devin Singletary, literally, he held all of the opportunity in that offense and single-handedly just completely destroyed his chances in this.
I know.
Like, Zach Mott, it's going to be
I was much higher on Singletary like 2 or 3 months ago.
It's going to be a timeshare. The New York Post, Brian Costello reports Le'Veon Bell hasn't had an impressive training camp. There's also reports floating around that Frank Gore might get 45% of the workload.
He lives.
So can we just say that Le'Veon Bell's a bust at this point? I'm so glad that I have him in no leagues.
Let's watch them play. Like, let's wait till the season starts. But yeah, I mean, I'm not.
We're in the business.
I'm not trying to get Le'Veon Bell.
We're in the business of predictions, bro.
That is true.
Yeah. At third round,
Le'Veon Bell
bust again. Why don't you crap yourself again, Le'Veon? What if they trade him to Jacksonville?
I mean,
how funny would that be?
He'd probably still not be.
They cut him. Jacksonville picks him up.
That would be kind of funny.
That's funny. NFL Network's Ian Rappaport said that Cooper Kupp suffered a low ankle sprain in Saturday's scrimmage.
Ooh.
Lots of players getting injured at this point. The lack of contact is starting to catch up to them, and they don't have no time to recover because the NFL is completely stupid with their rules.
Yep.
Anyway, for me, like, if you have Cooper Kupp, I wouldn't be like super worried about it, but lots of ankle sprains in practices. Jalen Reagor, left practice with a shoulder injury. He's going to have to get surgery. He's probably going to be out 4 weeks. I would expect a little bit longer. The problem with this situation for Jalen Reagor moving forward is that with that injury, it takes him out of camp. It takes him out of the early part of the season to earn his role on the team.
Right.
And at this point, even if Jalen Reagor is the most talented wide receiver, I don't know that they're going to be able to utilize, that rookie wide receivers have a tough time like developing without reps on the field. And so for Jalen Reagor, I think he's going to have some good games. I think he's going to be like Marquise Brown almost, where he has like 2 explosive games and that's it.
I was hoping this year that, like, I really thought he could be this year's AJ Brown, where he, as a rookie,
I mean, he might.
Year 1 rookie.
AJ Brown didn't break out until
might,
like week 6.
It'll be tougher for him because I think one of his best things going for him was he was going to start week 1 alongside Deshaun Jackson. I mean, that was almost a guarantee. But now he's not going to start, and whenever Alshon Jeffrey comes back, he might take that job if Reagor's not 100% by then, and it might end up being a year 2 breakout for him, or year 2 when we really start to see him slightly more consistent. But yeah, he could be like this year's Hollywood Brown, where he has a few good weeks.
So our writer Adam Hutchison just tweeted about this particular topic. I wouldn't have said anything unless he had tweeted it like right now. He said he talked a lot about Jalen Reagor yesterday, but he said Reagor can play with a small tear. Reports words, not mine. But it could flare up and will probably limit his breakout that we were all excited for. So, yeah, I would just, if you have him, try to find a different option, I guess. Go to the waiver wire. I don't know. Speaking Sunday, Joe Burrow predicted a big season for slot receiver Tyler Boyd. What have we been telling you? 65% from the slot in LSU.
Yep.
Tyler Boyd. He's gonna pound Tyler Boyd with the ball. That's what he's gonna do. I'm going to talk about the Miles Sanders, Leonard Fournette news last, but Adam Schefter did report that Alvin Kamara he's been absent from camp for the last couple of days. It's believed to be contract related. He wants a contract. This is about all they can do now is hold out of practices. If he tries to hold out games, he's going to lose millions of dollars. So,
right. Yeah.
Not smart for him to do. But anyway, we'll start with the Miles Sanders news. The Eagles running back Miles Sanders is struggling with a hamstring injury and was spotted Sunday doing shadow drills with the team's offense. That's if you don't know what a shadow drill is, it's essentially just a drill where you are not getting hit, touched or anything like that. You're just running through the basic system of the play as if you were in game. You know what I mean? So padless, just running the play without getting hit. So that's kind of what his situation is right now. But they said it is not a minor hamstring injury, but not a major hamstring injury. But that's what he's been dealing with that's making him week to week. So not good news, but hamstring injuries can heal, I guess. I'm not moving Miles Sanders down my boards at all.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I'm agreed. I agree with you. I think that's just more of a precautionary thing. I think he'll be fine week 1.
Okay, and then the final piece of news, and the biggest piece of news, we'll probably spend an hour and a half talking about. I literally wanted to I was going to make this whole show specifically about this.
Well, you can make it a YouTube video.
That's true. The Jags waived Leonard Fournette this morning, which I was shocked by. So I hopped on my Sleeper app, and I picked up all shares of...
I saw that in every league that I'm in.
Every single league. No, not just you, literally every single league. I went and got my boy, Raquel Armstead, who I've been talking about since 2018. So I was shocked that they dropped him. I got all my guys, and then Sleeper crashed.
Yep.
And everyone was like, what the hell? I can't go out and get my guys. I'm like, trust me, people. I got like 4 texts from our league mates, and I was like, I did not shut down Sleeper. You guys were just too slow.
Every year, like when Nick Chubb got traded, it was like a half second after the news, you had already picked up Nick Chubb. Or not Nick Chubb. It was when Carlos Hyde got traded to the Browns in Chubb's rookie year. And he was on the waiver wire in our redraft league. Like half a second.
I literally got.
It wasn't even a minute after.
This is a tip for everyone who plays fantasy football. I literally go to Ian Rappaport's account, Adam Schefter's account, like the big names who report stuff, and I go onto their Twitter accounts and I hit notifications, and I get notifications from those two guys. The second something happens, I know what happens. It's usually if you download an app like the Roto World app doesn't work anymore, but if you have like an NFL app or anything like that, the reports come out like probably a half hour after it actually happens. So you got to keep up with that stuff, but that's how I kind of keep up with the speed of how things are going. But anyway, people want to know about this situation with Leonard Fournette. So we'll start with Leonard Fournette.
Yep.
This has been interesting because I had my thoughts specifically related to on the field with Leonard Fournette. And that even, at the beginning of the offseason, it was clear that he was okay on the ground and okay through the air in terms of efficiency and yardage and all that stuff, right?
Right.
And so he was doing good and okay in that category, and it was enough to get him to an RB9 performance. Only scored 3 touchdowns, and the clear area of improvement was the touchdown category. If he scored 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 touchdowns even this year, it would move him from the RB9 to probably the RB 6, 5, 4 even. You know what I mean? I called him Dalvin Cook light because he didn't score the touchdowns. So that's essentially what Leonard Fournette was last year. There was a game that he had, I think it was 20 rushes for like 70 yards, but he had a 65-yard run in the game. So it was just that whole game I watched. It was horrible. He was horrible in that game. And it's like
it wasn't against Tennessee on Thursday night,
something like that. And so it was one run that kind of saved his fantasy night. I don't know if he scored a touchdown on that run. I don't believe so, but it's kind of saved his week, so it didn't look as bad. But the man was literally rushing for like 0.01 yards per game. Yards per touch in that game. So anyway, he obviously had some opportunities. Then they went out and they signed Chris Thompson, which I kind of underrated a little bit in terms of how this. Okay, they have Jay Gruden. Jay Gruden was from Washington. He likes Chris Thompson. They brought Chris Thompson in. So you had a bunch of different scenarios with, Jacksonville wanting to get the ball to him. And so my point was more specifically that he was coming out the board as the RB 15, 16, or 17. And he was the RB9 last year, and that the touchdowns would compensate for the lack of reception or receiving work that he got last year, or this year with Chris Thompson there. So the big thing for Leonard Fournette for me was that he was probably going to score the same amount of fantasy points, and it was worth it in the 3rd round. But lately, I've just been feeling weird about him because we obviously know they tried to trade him during the draft. Mm-hmm. They tried to trade him this summer. It's clear that Fournette does not want to be in Jacksonville because he wants to win. It's clear that Jacksonville wants to tank for Trevor Lawrence, I guess. Poor Gardner Minshew.
Yeah,
complete side note. But anyway, when you essentially, a lot of people have said this, and I totally agree with it, is don't draft guys who have a stigma of the team wanting to get rid of them or replace them. It's as simple as that, because you're just going to get guys that get cut. And that's essentially what happened with Leonard Fournette. And they were trying to trade him, and they couldn't even get a 7th round pick for him. Freaking Adam Gase was out here trading 7th round picks for the trash bag from Miami. I don't even want to remember. It's Kalen Ballage. There it is. Kalen Ballage. Yeah. And that didn't even go through because he didn't pass his physical. But he could get a 7th round pick for him, and you couldn't trade for Leonard Fournette $4 million 7th round pick. That literally makes no sense. So anyway, with Fournette, it didn't work out. The two sides split, and this does not mean good things for Leonard Fournette. We've heard a ton of landing spots. We'll talk about that in a second. But what are your thoughts on Leonard Fournette?
Yeah, it stinks. I kind of took him in our home league. Do kind of regret that a little bit, but look, I think the reason I wasn't, it was a valid concern with the whole dysfunction between the two, between Fournette and the Jaguars. But what I was hoping, and what a lot of people were expecting, not only myself but many others, was that they were just going to run him into the ground this year, on a 1-year deal, and then just let him go in the offseason. It's kind of stupid for the Jaguars to just waive him 2 weeks before the season like this, in my opinion.
It's kind of, if they knew they were going to get rid of him, they should have just done it.
They should have just done it earlier in the year.
They did Fournette dirty. They just was like, frick you, we're going to wait until the last second to cut you.
If they had their minds made up, why didn't they just keep him for the first 3 weeks of the season, and then once a running back gets injured, try to trade him to that team? Just hold on to him till the deadline.
Because Jacksonville doesn't want to win any games. It's clear now.
I guess, yeah, geesh. To the extreme.
I hope Gardner Minshew throws 36 touchdowns this year, and I hope he's freaking elite and they win 10 games. I really do.
I know, that'd be awesome. I don't think it's gonna
happen. To slap the owner and the GM in the face to be like, you freaking morons, you didn't believe in me. And then what is he? How many years he got on his contract? I'd love to see him walk.
2 or 3, I think.
Leave Jacksonville after being ridiculous. Anyway,
Yeah, as for landing spots, we talked about this before the show.
Yeah.
I really don't think any of them are going to be like, I've heard some people on Twitter say like, this is only good for Fournette. Like he finally gets out of Jacksonville.
No,
I don't agree with that take because wherever he goes,
together.
we're not sure about the work he's going to get. No matter the spot, even if it feels like a good situation, we're not 100% confident that he's going to get the work that he would have got in Jacksonville because he's proved last season of what he was capable of in terms of the workload. So wherever he goes, I don't think he's going to be getting that workload.
Right.
I think the best cases for me is probably, I told you this before the show again, Washington could be a good situation because you could just have Antonio Gibson play that Chris Thompson role. But again, that would be a concern because if the team really still likes Adrian Peterson, they could still use him. And then Fournette kind of he'll get carries, but not as much as he needs. And the offense is not good enough for him to be crazy efficient either. So he would have to get a decent amount of carries, which is possible, but not a guarantee. People have said New England. I don't like that situation. I know you don't like that situation either. There's just too many running backs there. And the way Bill Belichick uses the running backs, it could go from week to week. So that would be kind of disappointing. I think the Chargers are a dark horse team. That would make sense for Fournette, and he could play the Melvin Gordon role last year. That wouldn't be bad. But no matter where he goes, I'm not confident in it as a Fournette owner.
Okay. For me, I think there's 2, maybe 3 teams that I would peg as definite options for him.
Okay.
To all you people saying he's going to go to Philly, I could be dead wrong in saying this, but it's not going to happen. The signs point to that not happening. I don't think they're going to claim him off waivers. I don't think that they'll do any of that. I think it's going to be more specifically related to, like they obviously like Miles Sanders, but I think they were trying to get Devonta Freeman on the team and they weren't willing to give him more than $2 million. So it's like, why would they go out and spend $4 million on Leonard Fournette when he literally, like, Freeman is a better fit for the Eagles than Leonard Fournette is. Leonard Fournette has no physical fit with that team, and it doesn't make sense for them to do it. So to just assume Philly's going to go out and have an option there, if I'm a Miles Sanders owner, I'm not super concerned. I'm a little bit concerned because Philly's stupid.
Because he's available.
He's available. But I don't know that Philly's going to be like I think it was Mike Tagliere from the Fantasy Pros. First thing he tweeted after it was Philly was one of the teams that he thought that he would go to. And I'm like, that's not going to happen. I totally disagree. So I think for me, the teams are Washington. I think, obviously, we've talked about New England. I think that's a little less likely than some of these teams, but Washington and Chicago, I think, are the 2 big ones. And then I think that if you had to ask me about a dark horse kind of player or a dark horse team, I think it's the Los Angeles Rams. I think that a lot of people really like, and the reason why people aren't saying this is because they really like Henderson, they really like Akers. If you're that type of person, you really like Malcolm Brown, I guess. But Leonard Fournette would fill exactly what they want to do in LA. He said he would love to play in LA, whether it was for the Chargers, which you mentioned, or the Rams, which I've mentioned. So he'd love to play for LA. He's really close with Jalen Ramsey, who also happens to be a Los Angeles Ram now.
Yeah.
So it fits and it works. It's just a question of whether, like, Fournette would go there in a heartbeat, whether it was as a free agent or off the waivers, being claimed off waivers. So
be up to the Rams.
I think the Rams are definitely a dark horse pick. I don't think you mentioned Tampa.
I did not. I wanted to get to Tampa really quickly.
So Tampa Bay, he could possibly go there. I don't know if that's actually going to happen, but so just to give you some insight, they asked about it today.
Yep.
And he essentially was not saying no. He was like, "Oh, we'll look into it." He was like, "Oh yeah, we'll look into it. We'll see." It's literally it's like a free top 10 running back.
Right. The Buccaneers,
for $4 million.
If you remember, they were in the summer talking about trying to acquire him via trade. So I think if he's there, and he with the waivers, and if it comes to Tampa Bay, I think they will pick him up. I wouldn't hate that. I think it'd be better than some situations, but it would really depend on how they use Rojo at that point.
Yeah, right.
And how they feel about him. But that could end up being a good situation. It could end up being a bad one. Real quick, what would be your favorite and least favorite spot?
I would say in terms of fantasy football.
Yeah. You got to think. I'll give you mine. My least favorite would be Seattle, because I think they just have too many running backs. I think the Giants would be there too, because I heard you told me this morning that the Giants were interested. They got Saquon Barkley, so it made literally no sense.
Yeah.
But I'd say the Seahawks would be my least favorite. And my favorite would probably be Washington, but Tampa's close just because of the potential it could have. But that could really backfire too.
I really don't have a favorite for what could help him. As much as people would find this gross, I really do think that Washington would probably be the best fit. And the reason why I say that is because I think Adrian Peterson's a million years old, and they don't really want to give him a lot of work. Like, I could see him getting 100 with Leonard Fournette there. I could see Peterson getting 100 carries, but I think the other two guys that everyone's talking about, Antonio Gibson and Bryce Love, I really think that team does not want to run with them.
There's already been talks that I don't know if you've included it, and then he's kind of not a high profile player anyway, but there's been talks that he's going to get cut. Bryce Love.
Oh, okay.
He's not going to make the team unless they decide to carry 4 running backs.
Okay, yeah. So it's like, but that's who's the 4th running back?
J.D. McKissick, I think.
Oh yeah. So but that's the thing is like
special team.
Gibson's probably going to be if Leonard Fournette goes there, it would be Fournette,
Gibson, Peterson.
I would say Fournette, Peterson, Gibson.
Sure, but I mean it doesn't matter.
Yeah, at that point, I think they just give all the work to Leonard Fournette. So I think Washington would be the best landing spot for him in terms of him getting opportunity. I think the worst would be New England. He's going to get like 9 carries a game if he goes to New England. They literally have Damian Harris, Lamar Miller, who's probably going to be cut. And then they have Sony Michel, who's coming off the PUP, and everyone forgets about this white running back that they have named Rex Burkhead, and they love him. True. They're not going to cut him.
Think if
good blocker, hard worker, that fits the Patriots' freaking bill. So
I don't disagree with you at all.
Yeah.
But I will say if the Patriots end up getting Fournette, I don't think Lamar Miller's going to make the team. I think he'll get cut.
Oh, Miller will get cut. Yeah. But I think Sony Michel will probably get opportunities.
Right. Yep. And Damian Harris, they still want to use, I think.
So, I mean, I don't think there's any real, like a lot of people saying, oh, this might be a good thing for him. Like, I think like I said, my dark horse team, Los Angeles Rams, I think he would get the work day one. He would get the same work that Gurley did. And then Henderson or Akers would fight for the, essentially the Malcolm Brown role from last year. And so I think that's what would happen. I think he'd get a lot of opportunity. It might be a good landing spot for him, but I really don't think that there's a good team out there that's going to want him because everyone who needs a running back right now is really not in a good position. So we'll have to see what happens with Fournette. On the other side of it, the flip side of it for Leonard Fournette, on the other side of it for Jacksonville, I should say, you have a completely open backfield at this point. No one there. Chances, I just want to really quickly, chances that Devonta Freeman goes there.
Probably I'd say 20%. It's decent.
Okay. I would say 15.
Yeah. Around the same.
So yeah, Devonta Freeman might sign. There's options out there for them to kind of go after, I guess. I was thinking about it today, just didn't tweet it out, didn't say anything about it because, there's too much hype going on. Marlon Mack would be a freaking awesome trade.
They wouldn't do it, though.
They wouldn't do it in 1 second, but freaking Jonathan Taylor would open up on my team. I'd be so happy. But anyway, so right now, from what it sounds like, they're going to run with the 3 guys that they have.
They don't want to win.
They don't want to win. Yeah, that's true. So I like this guy, Raekwon Armstead, out of, I can't remember where he went to college, to be honest with you, but I really liked Raekwon Armstead coming out of college. And one of the things that I noticed is that he's extremely fast, extremely big, and he's fast, and he had 30 bench press reps. So he's I think he was a 4.40 or something like that. Don't quote me on it. I don't know the exact number, but. And then he had 30 bench press reps, which usually running backs get to give you an idea of what Jonathan, I think Jonathan Taylor had 17. So this guy's a freaking truck, and he also can pass catch, which helps when you're a truck like Derrick Henry.
I unfortunately though think they're going to just use Chris Thompson in the passing game and then.
No, that's, I totally agree with you. The problem is Armstead has been on COVID IR. I don't know. I think he just came off, and he hasn't really practiced a lot. So what a lot of people are talking about is Devin Singletary being in kind of the mix for a lot of rushing work. I don't know if that's going to happen. He's an undrafted free agent, and it's a good stash if you're in a dynasty league. But if you're in a redraft, don't be running out to pick up Devin Singletary. If he has a really good week one, go get Devin Singletary. But the two guys you should be targeting are Chris Thompson and Reichwell Armstead. The big thing for me is that Reichwell Armstead's going to be able to hold up. He's big, he's physical, he knows how to hold up, and he can be literally, if you go to Player Profiler, he's listed as an all-purpose running back. So he's there in terms of, you know, what they need to do offensively. But I feel like Chris Thompson, you would expect to get a majority of the work in this offense with the pass catching and the rushing. The problem with him is that if they give him Leonard Fournette like work, you know, 18 carries a game, and they just say, you know what, these two younger running backs, trash them. Let's just use Chris Thompson the whole time. And he gets the passing work, and he basically is like Leonard Fournette last year, except a little more efficient, right? Then, of course, I'm buying Chris Thompson. Problem with this is that he wouldn't last 3 games with that workload. He can't even last 6 to 10 games with a 7-touch workload with Washington. So I'm he's just not going to be able to hold up under that. It's going to be a problem for him. He's not going to be able to you know, move the ball or move forward. So I think those are kind of the biggest issues for me in terms of what Chris Thompson brings to the table. But what round would you want to draft Chris Thompson?
Still not anywhere in like the top 8 rounds.
Okay. You wouldn't want to take a flyer on him in the 8th?
No, probably not. I'd probably take him in like the 9th or 10th.
Yeah, I would take him with the same kind of esteem as like a Darrell Henderson.
Right.
In that area. Yeah. Like, would you take Dobbins over?
Yeah, I would take
over
Dobbins.
Chris Thompson.
Yeah.
Okay. You get immediate work with Chris Thompson. But
you do,
that's my thing. Is like
offense,
at some point he's going to get hurt.
Right.
And it's like when he does get hurt, this is why I think they might bring somebody in, because when he does get hurt, not that I'm not wishing injury upon him, but it's going to be the Reichwell Armstead show. So, which I'm very intrigued by. I saw his workout metrics, and he was supposed to be like a 3rd. I hate playing that game because if they drafted him in the 5th, they obviously didn't like him. Most teams didn't like him very much.
Right.
He was supposed to be, according to ESPN, the 3rd round pick. And he was big, fast, physical, you know, all that stuff. He ended up being a 5th rounder. So I think he can beat out an undrafted free agent, you know, Devin Singletary. Sure. So those are my thoughts on Jacksonville. It is clear that they're tanking, though.
Yeah, 100%.
Which is why I want Minshew. Like, does that make you concerned about the other pieces in that offense?
No, not really.
Like Chark,
I think
and
they'll be losing a lot in games. So, like, if anything, like, it's a good thing for like Chark because they'll be throwing the ball a lot this year. So
the fantasy footballers today on their podcast, they referenced, I think it was Andy Holloway, I can't remember, but he referenced how many games, right, or how many years a terrible team that finished with the number 1 overall pick, what their quarterbacks did in that year in fantasy. And so obviously if you're of a terrible team, you probably replaced your quarterback midway through the season is what he said. So he just combined all quarterbacks fantasy points on a team that got the 1st overall pick for like the last 10 something years.
Right.
And the highest finish was like 18th.
That's not good.
Yeah. So for Gardner, they have to be a lot better than finishing with the top 5 pick next year in order for him to have some real success. Like, I don't think he throws 28 touchdowns, 4,000 yards, you know, and rushes for 500 yards and has success that way without them winning at least a couple games. You know what I mean? Like, right. It's not going to be like, he's not going to be so, like, he wasn't bad last year unless he's just complete garbage. It's highly unlikely for me that this team is going to go for the 1st overall pick. They've also said that they totally believe that the situation in Jacksonville is a mess, and all the players that they drafted and the culture that they had was just not good culture. Like, I don't know if you ever heard of any of the personal stuff about Leonard Fournette, but he's just not a good character to have in the locker room.
Yeah.
So I think they're just trying to scrub that whole team, not necessarily tank, but scrub the team clean of the bad characters and start fresh. Sure. Which is why they've traded essentially everyone there. And we'll see how it works out. I mean, they're just not good. Their odds of being the worst team in the NFL went up. So anyway, let's jump in now that it's been a half hour. This is why I wanted to make this a singular show. Let's jump into our mock draft.
Okay.
So we're going to be mocking together on this episode. We haven't done a single mock draft. Actually, really, I think we did like 5.
We can probably do it quicker this way too.
Yeah. So we'll just go through. No kickers, no defense. Only 13 rounds. So if you're wondering why is it only 13 rounds, we refuse to draft kickers and defenses. Don't do it. It's not good. So let's get the mock draft started here on sleeper.com. This is a half PPR 12 team league as normal.
Well,
freaking come on, man.
I think it's pretty obvious who we should take here.
Alvin Kamara.
I don't know about you. Alvin Kamara.
Alvin Kamara. Obviously Saquon Barkley. This would never happen in real life, I don't think. No. I did see I'm in like a group chat with like a bunch of people, and they always send in their fantasy drafts with their home leagues. This thing is moving slow. But in their home leagues, and they said like one team drafted a defense with the first overall pick, and then their second overall pick, I think, was like a quarterback. And I was like,
there's always
wow.
somebody in the league that does that.
Okay. So anyway, Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, number 7. I did not realize the ADP was that high on him. I haven't done a mock draft in like a week.
Yeah, it changed. He's like the 108 now.
He gets drafted at 1-7. Josh Jacobs 1-8. Dalvin Cook 1-9. You have Adams at 10. Nick Chubb, Miles Sanders 12. You have Joe Mixon, Aaron Jones, Kenyon Drake, Tyreek Hill, Austin Eckler, Julio Jones, DeAndre Hopkins, and then Lamar Jackson.
So you got to tell me he's on the board because I can't see.
Oh, you can't see on, bruh. So
I can't see who's on the board.
So we have Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Chris Godwin, James Conner, George Kittle, Chris Carson, Kenny Galladay. I'll let you make this pick. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, though.
Well, would you go Chris Godwin?
I think I would go Chris Godwin here because there's not a lot of running backs, but I feel like just that there is a lack of running backs in the second and third round.
I had around this pick in our home league, and that's why I took Travis Kelce in the second round because there was nobody. I was the 211 though. So you would go Chris Godwin here though, right?
Yeah, I'd go Chris Godwin. We'll agree.
Me too. So,
at the turn too, I think you have the option, like you're at the beginning of the third round, so you have the option to go with David Johnson, Le'Veon Bell, Todd Gurley, Leonard Fournette. Obviously not Leonard Fournette after the news today, but Melvin Gordon, some options in that second round. And you could also even wait to the fourth if you wanted to be a psychopath. But anyway, we'll go Chris Godwin here. After Chris Godwin, we got Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Chris Carson, Adam Thielen, and Todd. Oh, you know what? Freak you, sleeper. Todd Gurley gets taken at 3-2.
Snipes. That's who I wanted.
And then Mike Evans. Now we have James Conner here. What are your thoughts on taking James Conner at 3-4?
I'm not really crazy about it.
Such a go, but that he fell.
I feel like
it's
early for him. Like in our home league, he went to 3-1, I believe, as well. And I just feel like it's very early for James Conner, who like is injury prone. Mm-hmm. If he's healthy and gets to work, like he's gonna be good. But man, there's also, talks Leonard Fournette might go there too. So like, I don't know who else is on the board.
We have Kenny Galladay, David. If you want to take a wide receiver, we got Galladay, Amari Cooper, Allen Robinson, Cooper Kupp, Juju. Wide receivers, we have James Conner. Running backs, we have James Conner, David Johnson, Le'Veon Bell, Leonard Fournette, Melvin Gordon. If we were going to take a running back, if you had to hold a gun to my head and we had to take a running back, I'd probably take Melvin Gordon. No, see, I don't even want him anymore. Leonard Fournette got cut. Le'Veon Bell's in an RBBC with an old man named Frank Gore, and Melvin Gordon is now in an RBBC with Philip Lindsay. Honestly, I hate the pick 100%, but I might say if you don't want James Conner, I would take David Johnson. But if it was by myself and I was drafting by myself, I would take James Conner.
You know who I'd take?
Who?
George Kittle.
Stop. I refuse.
I know you do.
No agreement there.
Okay, so who you said you would take?
We might be able to. I want to see who we get at the turn at running back if we were to take a wide receiver here. So we'd probably end up with Devin Singletary, David Montgomery, who's probably not going to play. You got Raheem Mostert. You also got Kareem Hunt. So
Jonathan Taylor too, maybe.
No, he's
playing exactly.
He's
so
early.
You're playing a risk. I just say James Conner here. It's gross.
All right, we're going to take James Conner. I actually don't think James Conner is going to be a bad selection. This could look really bad later this week or later tonight, even if we find out that we pre-recorded this on a Monday. So if Leonard Fournette signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers or went to the Pittsburgh Steelers, then I'm sorry. But anyway, assuming that there's no Leonard Fournette there, James Conner's going to be. He was good in his time. Starting last year. But I think the lack of quarterback play and all of that stuff affects him. And I think obviously injuries hurt him. But to think of what he was last year and what he is this year, last year he was getting drafted as the 10th running back off the board or 9th. Mm-hmm. And it's like this year he's all the way down. He's like the 13th, 14th running back off the board. And I think you could definitely draft James Conner as that because that's kind of what he was producing at last year. So for me, I don't think it's a bad selection in James Conner, especially when he's usually a late second, early third round pick. You get him at 3-4 a couple of picks later. We would have taken Todd Gurley here. The team that took Todd Gurley probably should have taken James Conner. That's what sleepers normal is. But anyway, Kenny Golladay, David Johnson, George Kittle, Leonard Fournette, Juju Smith-Schuster, Le'Veon Bell, Jonathan Taylor, Allen Robinson, my guy, Melvin Gordon, Amari Cooper, DK Metcalf, A.J. Brown, Mark Ingram, Odell Beckham Jr., Calvin Ridley, and DJ Moore all come off the board. Lots and lots of good wide receivers.
Yeah, DJ Moore and Calvin Ridley was the two guys that I was hoping we could get here.
Bob Woods.
Mr. Bob Woods, Robert Woods.
Yeah, dude.
That's not bad. I don't know who else is on the board.
Might be able to get Chark and McLaurin on the turn too.
Right. So who's on the board?
I'm sorry, Cooper Kupp was. I should just send you a screen recording of myself. I should change my Zoom call to you to my screen so you can see what the frick's going on. Anyway, we have Cooper Kupp, Mark Andrews, Devin Singletary, Robert Woods, David Montgomery, Raheem Mostert, Tyler Lockett, and DJ Chark.
To me, the pick here is either Cooper Kupp or Robert Woods. I'm fine with either of those guys.
Considering that Cooper Kupp does have the ankle injury, I'm probably going to take Woods. I would do that. At the turn, we have Mark Andrews, Cooper Kupp, Devin Singletary, Raheem Mostert, Russell Wilson, and then David Opportunity. So Lockett falls to us. Chark is there. We have the option of Kareem Hunt, Terry McLaurin.
This one's a tough one. I personally would go Chark and McLaurin here because I like the breakout potential of both those guys. I don't mind Lockett or Hunt, though. So, again, up to you what you want to do. But it's going to be one of those four guys. For me, though, I'd probably lean Chark and McLaurin. Yeah.
I mean, I feel so the big problem is we don't pick for a little while. And our options at running back projected by Sleeper would be J.K. Dobbins, Marlon Mack, maybe not Jordan good. Howard a little bit later. So it's not good. So I'm almost reach on Kareem Hunt a little bit, but you also have two potential breakout wide receivers here with DJ Chark and Terry McLaurin. Dang.
It's tough. For me, what I would say is I do like I get your view of taking Hunt here because the running back depth is weak, and we are going to have whoever our third running back is going to be weak anyway.
Right.
But would you rather have your third running back being slightly weaker, or have three really good wide receivers, or have a third running back? I mean, that's not as bad, but still not a great.
See, I feel like in fantasy football, because of the lack of depth at running back, I would rather have the running back just because it's tradable.
Okay.
Like you can get a good wide receiver off the waiver wire or through a trade, you know what I mean, and all that stuff. But I don't know. I'll just do it. I'm going to take McLaren.
Okay.
So the reason why I took McLaren over Chark, in case anybody's wondering, that sounded like I was talking to like 5-year-old kids, or I was like an awkward like public speaker.
Yeah.
The reason why I took McLaren over Chark, though, was because I with the recent findings of the Jacksonville Jaguars, if they really are the worst team in the league, I really don't want to buy into that offense really that much.
100%. Yeah.
So I would take McLaren over them. Not that Washington's any better, but from the stuff that I've heard out of camp, Haskins has actually been improved.
Right.
And
yeah,
so
I've heard the same stuff.
I feel like McLaren might be a better option this year. Also, there's literally no one in that Washington receiving corps.
Exactly. Yeah. So. And even if Haskins isn't good and they decide he's not a good enough quarterback, they have Alex Smith, who I think if Alex Smith is the same Alex Smith as he was before the injury, he's an upgrade.
So we had Cam Akers, T.Y. Hilton, DJ Chark, Kareem Hunt, Tyler Lockett, Dak Prescott, Ertz, Murray, Kyler Murray, Ronald Jones, Marquise Brown, Keenan Allen, Darren Waller, DeAndre Swift, Stephen Diggs, A.J. Green, and then Julian Edelman here in the 6th round. And now it's on our pick. We have Cortland Sutton, Deshaun Watson, J.K. Dobbins, Devontae Parker, Marlon Mack, Rob Gronkowski, Michael Gallup, Will Fuller. I would say take Dobbins, but who do you want to take here?
Yeah, I'd say either Dobbins, Cortland Sutton, or Parker for me.
See, my problem is that I'm tempted to just keep going wide receivers, but I know you can get like in the following round, you can look at guys like, I mean, you might have Sutton fall to you, which is unlikely. Parker would fall to you. You also have a decent play in Michael Gallup in the 7th round. But Tyler Boyd is a guy that I would actually reach on a little bit in the 7th to try to pick up.
So do you want to just go Dobbins here then and go wide receiver in the next round?
Yeah, let's do Dobbins and see what falls to us in the 2nd. So Gallup, Cortland Sutton, Marlon Mack, Devontae Parker, Brandon Cooks.
Oh my goodness gracious.
We literally just got completely destroyed. I was like, one of those guys will fall to us. One of them will. Frick it, let's just take Gronk. No. I would say, so right now we have Watson, Gronk, Fuller, Ingram, Howard, Drew Brees, and then Debo on the board. I would probably take Debo.
I'd take Debo, yeah.
All right.
That's the pick.
Hold on, I got to find him. Debo Samuel. So, I mean, it's relatively interesting. This is what you like. I have not mocked, I don't think, in the 4th spot this year. I might have done.
I don't think I have either.
We might have done a show with that, but that's kind of difficult. It's a difficult spot.
Antonio Gibson is flying up boards, huh? Holy cow, 8th round now.
I know. Rob Gronkowski, Deshaun Watson, Drew Brees, Evan Ingram, James White, Jarvis Landry, Will Fuller, Jordan Howard, Tevin Coleman, Matt Ryan, Phillip Lindsay, Aaron Rodgers, Marvin Jones, Antonio Gibson, Kerryon Johnson, and Alexander Mass. I wish there was a better way than just listing out players. On YouTube, you're watching it and going, why are you saying the players' names? It's because we have a podcast.
Yep.
People are listening and not watching the show, and they're like, who's getting taken?
Right.
You know, I'm just drafting Josh Allen. You don't get a choice.
Sheesh, I didn't even know who was on the board.
My 8th round pick, Josh Allen.
Surprised you didn't go Deontay Johnson there.
That's true.
Good pick, though. Not a bad pick.
Zach Moss, Deontay Johnson, Matt Breida, Tom Brady, Latavius Murray, and Henry Ruggs come off the board. We have Hunter Henry, Sony Michel, CeeDee Lamb, Emmanuel Sanders, Mecole Hardman, Hayden Hurst, Carson Wentz, Tyler Higbee, Jared Cook, Tariq Cohen, Chase Edmonds, yada, yada, yada.
Probably go Hardman here, would you say?
Yeah, I would take Hardman, too. I think if Johnson had fallen to us, Deontay Johnson, I would have taken Deontay over Mecole Hardman, but
same.
Hardman's not a bad pick here at all. So let's see what we get. We only have 4 rounds to go. We are blowing through this draft. You know, when we do it separately, it takes a long time.
It does.
And I feel like we just don't strategize. As I sit here and wait for my computer to catch up to the sleeper. Oh, hopefully Christian Kirk falls to us.
Oh, am I ahead of you? I think
yeah.
I am, because Christian Kirk got picked.
Yeah, my computer's moving real slow right now. Too many programs running all at once. So we had Matthew Stafford, Sony Michel, Hunter Henry, Emmanuel Sanders, CeeDee Lamb, Carson Wentz, Jared Cook, Hayden Hurst, Darius Slayton, Darrell Henderson, Tariq Cohen, Jerry Jeudy, Daniel Jones, Chase Edmonds, Christian Kirk, and then Damian Harris all come off the board subsequently. We have Tony Pollard, Adrian Peterson, Noah Fant if you want to go for running back. As far as wide receivers, we have Sterling. Did I say running back? Holy frick.
Yeah, you did.
At tight end. And then we got Sterling, Shepard, Jalen Reagor, Jamison Crowder, and Justin Jefferson. So this is the 10th round I've found in every single draft I've done is disgusting.
Yep.
So I don't know who to take.
Can you list off the running backs again?
We have Tony Pollard, Adrian Peterson, Keyshawn Vaughn, A.J. Dillon, Justin Jackson.
Yeah, disgusting. I think the only one, believe it or not, would be Adrian Peterson if you're going running back there. No, Font's not awful, but I'd rather wait a round or two for the tight end.
And just go double tight ends.
Yeah, it will be your strat for tight end.
Oh, yeah,
so
dude.
I'd go receiver here because I just think it's the quality of player is much better with Jamison Crowder, with Justin Jefferson. If Jalen Reagor was healthy, I'd actually say probably Jalen Reagor here. And who was the fourth wide receiver?
I don't remember.
Well, Crowder's probably the best option anyway.
Yeah. So I was thinking Crowder so that we maybe can go Justin Jefferson and use our last 2 picks on tight ends.
Yeah, we can do that.
All right. Sounds good.
That sounds good.
There's just no, I've noticed that the late round running backs, at this point, Keyshawn Vaughn's probably not going to get much work. Justin Jefferson's a good buy, and Darrell Henderson's a decent buy in the 10th round, in the 11th round, but I would not draft A.J. Dillon, Tony Pollard.
Oh, we got sniped on one of them.
Oh, you've got to be kidding me, bro. Get out of here.
Oh, no, never mind. No phone went way early.
What makes this guy believe he can have 2 tight ends?
I know, crazy.
Get out of here, bro.
Well, you got to take Hawk, right? Yeah.
All day, all night. I would probably say Burrow with the last pick.
Burrow got picked, bro.
Oh my God. See, I'm telling you, I'm behind. I'm behind right now. Bryce Love, Duke Johnson, Joe Burrow, Alan Lazard, Ryan Tannehill, and Brandon Ayuk got picked. We're at our last pick. We have Naheem Hines, Golden Tate, N'Keal Harry, Carlos Hyde, Robbie Anderson, Jerick McKinnon, Benny Snell, and others on the board. Normally I would have taken
Gesicki a running back since we only have 3 on the roster. Although N'Keal Harry seems like
Chris Thompson.
Pick. Yes. There you go.
There we go. His ADP hasn't adjusted, so we'll take a steal in the 13th round. So yeah, I mean, generally speaking, the things that I've noticed more specifically as of late is that when you get to this back, all of the end of the second round running backs that you thought you were going to get 2 months ago are now getting taken at the beginning of the second round, and there's really no good options later in the second. And the strategy that I've been finding myself in more times than not has been drafting a wide receiver in that second round. So I think with Chris Godwin, it was a good pick. But I mean, look around him: Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and then freaking Chris Carson at 212. Even with Mike Evans, Gurley, and Thielen, it's just not a great round of guys in terms of what you would get. So, I mean, that's kind of what I noticed in that second round. And then later in the draft, the 10th round is just abysmal. It is bad.
It really is, yeah. I mean, it's
not a single guy. I was glad we got Crowder there, but man, oh man, it's been a cluster. But we ended up with Josh Allen, Saquon Barkley, James Conner, Chris Godwin, Robert Woods, T.J. Hawkinson, Terry McLaurin, J.K. Dobbins, Deebo Samuel, Mecole Hardman, Jamison Crowder, Justin Jefferson, and Chris Thompson. You should just go rate our team down below if you're watching on YouTube.
Not a bad team, but this is why, folks, you draft running backs early.
Yeah, for sure.
Because the depth at wide receiver is way better than the depth.
I mean, there was nothing else that we could have done at running back. We have 3 running backs. Right. I mean, that's ridiculous. That at this pick, you shouldn't. It'll be interesting. We have a draft tonight with our listener league, and
yeah. We do pre-record this, so
yeah. So it's actually over if you're listening to this podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Long, interesting podcast today. Leonard Fournette, mock draft, all kinds of interesting stuff. We got some stuff tomorrow, and then there's just 2 more episodes of pre-draft content before we jump in to the regular season of fantasy football.
Holy cow.
It's going to get real. It's going to get real.
I can't wait.
I'm pumped. If you haven't checked our website, check out our website, thefantasychampions.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. And we'll talk to you tomorrow, Fantasy Champs. Don't forget to buy that draft guide.
Yeah, buy the draft guide, guys. See you.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube and follow us on Twitter @TheFFChamps.